Coming up next on The Daily, we're on the road in Tucson, Arizona for the Desert Diamond Cup here at Keno Stadium. Welcome to The Daily for Wednesday, February 22nd with Greg Lawless. I'm Jason Seguini. We're down here in Tucson, Arizona, Greg, for the Desert Diamond Cup. 4 MLS teams going at it: the LA Galaxy, New England Revolution, New York Red Bulls, and Real Salt Lake. And all these games from down here will be streamed live on MLSsoccer.com. Greg, what team are you looking forward to most seeing down here?
Well, I think New England Revolution are the key in this one because of all of the changes that are taking place there. Obviously, Jay Heaps with the new coach, but lots of new players in here as well. I want to see what Benny Feilhaber is going to look like now that he has some different players around him. I want to see what this defense looks like because that's sort of been remade. AJ Soares is going to be the star in the back line for the New England Revolution going forward. And the veterans, will Showery Joseph and Matt Reese start to show up and be sort of those second coaches or third coaches on the field for Jay Heaps?
All right, well, they play in the first game against the LA Galaxy, and you can see that on MLSsoccer.com, 8 p.m. Eastern time today. In the second match, which is at 10 o'clock Eastern time, the New York Red Bulls taking on Real Salt Lake, and the Red Bulls expected to field a second team here as they have another game tomorrow against Pumas.
Yeah, they play a big game tomorrow in a friendly against Mexican side Pumas, and obviously they're going to rest some of their first teamers in this game tonight. But Real Salt Lake will also, I think, be trying to experiment a little bit. Let's remember, Salt Lake are missing about 7 starters right now due to injury. So they have a lot of young players that they're also going to throw out there to see how they can do in top flight competition.
Remember, this is the last opportunity for a lot of these guys to earn a spot on the roster. There's a lot of positional battles out there to watch, including the Red Bulls goalkeeping situation, which will be interesting. Which guy plays in tonight's game, which guy plays against Pumas. Remember, all these games streamed live on MLSsoccer.com, and it starts tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Well, speaking of the New York Red Bulls, Greg, Thierry Henry back with the team yesterday in a press conference, and he was all about New York headed forward.
Yeah, he pretty much avoided questions about Arsenal and said he didn't want to talk about it. He'd already talked about it in London. And he was very adamant about saying that his attention and his focus is on the Red Bulls here. He did mention how they had a very good preseason in 2011, but the season didn't end up being very good, so he's not as worried about the results, let's say, in the preseason this year. Also, Rafa Marquez spoke a little bit during this press conference and talked about he maybe has some hopes to get onto the Olympic team this summer. Now we'll see what would happen with that and whether he might miss some time for that. And also spoke about his desire to get into really good shape and in form heading into the World Cup qualifiers later this year.
All right, well, from DPs in New York to DPs in Portland, Chris Boyd introduced to the media yesterday in Portland.
Yeah, and his owner, Merritt Paulson, had some big words for him. He's expecting 10 goals from his new striker. He came out and actually said that. Chris Boyd, of course, coming out and saying this is a chance to get his, quote, career back on track. He didn't have a good time in Turkey when he was there. Now he has a chance with a good club to really start to play and score some goals again.
Yeah, they said 10 goals. I think Portland Timbers fans want to think more like 20 goals.
Yeah, well.
Another designated player or future designated player was in the news as Barry Robson with a great game yesterday.
Yeah, he's been injured lately, the Middlesbrough midfielder, but he came back and had a terrific game in a 3-1 victory for Borough over Millwall. His manager, actually, Tony Mowbray, coming out and saying that this was the best he'd played in a very long time. His runs out of the midfield, you almost feel like they're going to really miss him this summer when he leaves to join Vancouver.
All right, and one more player to mention. Montreal have signed what could be the oldest player in MLS right now.
He is the oldest player, in fact, 38 plus, Eduardo Sabrango, who showed up and had a trial and did very well. The club actually saying that he is in better shape than some of the other guys, some of the younger guys, if not all of the younger guys on the team.
So Sabrango helping to keep some of that continuity as Montreal makes the jump to MLS. Couple final notes for you. Tonight is a big night in San Jose as they try to move forward with building their own soccer-specific stadium.
Yeah, it's been a long process for the Earthquakes as they've moved through the political process to get this done. Tonight, there's a massive city council meeting. There's going to be a decision made whether they can move forward on their plans to build a stadium. This really is the biggest final hurdle for them before they can start putting shovels in the ground.
Finally, we found out yesterday that Oguchi Onyewu will be out for 2 months now, which leaves a roster spot open for that U.S.-Italy game, Greg. Who's going to take his spot?
Well, I think Jurgen Klinsmann has a big decision to make. Does he bring Tim Ream back in now that Tim has started to see some time for Bolton Wanderers? I think that's a good option right there. I think that Michael Parkhurst also deserves a call up again after what he has shown already. And why not a guy like Heath Pierce from Chivas USA, who has shown that he can play in the middle of the field as well as the left side of the park, so that you have a little bit more flexibility in the back line.
All right, well, before that U.S. soccer game, there's plenty of MLS action to be played and plenty of coverage on the site, including the road trip to First Kick, which is going bigger and better than it was last year.
Yeah, we're going up and down both the East and West Coast. The East Coast road trip, which will be starring Temris Lane and our very own Nick Furshaw, will be starting in Philadelphia and make its way down to Dallas by way of Orlando and even Chattanooga, Tennessee. And then on the West Coast, we have Brian Dunseth and Drea Avant going from Tucson, actually, and then making their way all the way up the West Coast. This is going to be a great time for both of them. A lot of content coming out of this, so make sure you check back to MLSsoccer.com starting on Saturday the 25th.
Okay, and speaking of Tucson, again, a reminder that we're here. Games start tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. The LA Galaxy take on the New England Revolution, and then at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll have the New York Red Bulls and Real Salt Lake. And one final note, Greg, we have to mention before we go, starting tomorrow, fans can get MLS Live, a new way to get all your MLS action this season.
Yeah, more than 230 games streamed live to all of your platforms. Phone, internet, iPad, iPhone, it doesn't matter
Roku,
what it is. Roku,
whatever you got.
It goes across all the platforms. MLS Live, it'll be ready and you can start subscribing tomorrow.
All right, that's all we have for the Daily. Don't forget to tune into those games tonight, and we'll be back with more on the Daily tomorrow.